Hi there. Welcome to Tea with the Druid 133, brought to you by the Order of Bards, Ovates and Druids. Ema Burke here, and just let me know that you're here. So if you can say hi, I'll just wait until I see if anybody's here. Hi, Mark. Hi, Liam. And John King. Great. Somebody from Oregon. Great. Ellie, Carlan, Adi, all the way from New Zealand. That's great. And somebody from the Rocky Mountains. Lisa. Lovely. You're very, very welcome from Texas, Michigan, the New Forest. Lovely. France. Montana. Brilliant. Great. Lovely to see you all. Hi, Ellie. Hi, Vivian from Germany and Rue from Washington State. Lovely. Julia from London. Great. Hi, Linda Joan from Australia. Okay, wonderful. Okay, so tonight I have another story for you. And this story takes place in Ireland. And it is one of the folk tales from Offaly, the county where I was born. And I originally came across this story in a book of Gothic tales by story collector and storyteller Stephen Lally and his wife, I think, Paula Flynn Lally. So here is my version of it. Bloma, or the Slieve Bloom Mountains, are a very, very sacred, or it's a very, very sacred place. It is the place where Finn McCool, he who of the Salmon of Knowledge or the Salmon of Wisdom fame, was brought up from infanthood right up to adulthood by two women. One was a druid and one was a warrior. And he was brought up in a very secret place on the slopes of Bloma. Now, I'm not going to tell you that story tonight. This is a different story. This could have happened yesterday, or it could have happened many, many years ago. There were these young boys, three of them, and they lived on the foothills of Bloma. And they loved nothing better during the summer months and in the autumn to go picking berries and nuts all along the foothills. And one day they decided to go berry picking and see if they could find some nuts. And they started off in Glen Barrow, which is the glen of the River Barrow. And the River Barrow is one of the three sister rivers of Ireland. And its source is someplace in Bloma in a secret location. So they set off walking along the Barrow, which in the Slieve Bloom Mountains is only a stream, and there's a little path. And they're walking along the path, and the sun is shining, there's a clear blue sky, and they can hear the birds singing, and the insects are busy flying, buzzing between plants, pollinating them. And they're in great form. And as they're going along, they're picking an odd berry here and there, and they're playing and having fun. And they continue walking up along that path. And it's a hot day. And they come to a little waterfall with a pool at the base of the waterfall. So what do? They strip off their clothes and jump right in. And they're having great fun, splashing around. And when they've cooled down, out they come again. And as they're wet, they decide to roll their clothes up in bundles and put them under their arm and to continue walking up the path beside the river to look for more berries. And they're walking along, and then they come to a second waterfall. And again, there's a nice deep pool at the base of this waterfall. And they put down their bundles of clothes and they jump right in again, and they're having great fun cooling down and splashing. And when they're cool enough, out they get again, pick up their bundles and continue walking up that river until they come to a third waterfall. They drop their bundles again And without even thinking, in they go, splashing around and having a great time. And when they've cooled down again, out they get, and they dry themselves off, and they put on their clothes. And something is different. They notice something has changed. They can feel it. They can see it. They can taste it. They can sense it. Just across from the third waterfall, it's as if there's a gateway. And they see through that gateway a shimmering grove of hazel trees. Now, what they didn't know was that by jumping into those 3 waterfalls, they had opened a cola brack. A cola brack is an old phrase meaning gateway to the other world. So they looked through that gateway, and all they could see were these beautiful hazel trees, which were in flower and fruit at the same time. And it was like these hazel trees were calling them. Now, in those days, hazels, the fruit, were nothing like they are today. In those days, these hazels were as big as apples, and as soft as peaches, and as juicy and as tasty, like nothing on earth. So when the 3 boys saw these ginormous fruit on these hazel trees, over they shot as fast as they could and started picking them and stuffing their faces. I mean, the taste was just magical. And the smell of the perfume from those fruit, exquisite. The soft skin, and the juice was running down their faces, down onto their t-shirts. And when they'd eaten their fill and couldn't take any more, they got their gansies, that's an Irish word for jumper or sweater, put them on, and then they made a big shape, like a bag out of their gansie, and started picking as many of those hazels as they could. And when their gansies were full to capacity and they could carry no more, they decided to head off home without a thought in the world. So they headed back, hardly noticing that gateway, that cola brack, headed back towards the waterfall and began to walk down the path, right down to the bottom and off to each of their homes. So when they arrived home, they told their family, what they had done. They'd gone berry picking and they found these wonderful hazels. So they shared some out, and then they went to bed that night. No, that did not have an easy night. They were twisting and turning with headaches and bellyaches and really strange dreams. And when they woke up the next morning, if a headache and a bellyache wasn't bad enough, John, one of the boys, turned on the pillow, and to his horror, right beside him were all of his teeth. There wasn't one tooth left in his mouth. Well, he began to weep and wail and conrawn and shriek. And he grabbed all the teeth in his hand and ran into the kitchen, into his parents, and said, "Oh my goodness, look what's happened, look what's happened. All my teeth have fallen out. I'm like a little old man. My future is ruined, my life is ruined. I'll never get married, I'll never get a job, I'll never succeed. How can I live without my teeth?" And the parents were gobsmacked. They had no idea how this could have happened. And as they're looking at the handful of John's teeth and the teeth in his hands, didn't the phone ring? And it was the parents of one of the other boys. The same thing had happened to him. And then they decided to come over and visit. And again, the phone rang a third time or a second time, and it was the other boy's parents. So they all gathered in John's house. And there's the 3 boys with their fists full, not of hazels, but of their teeth. And they are weeping and wailing and absolutely confused and bewildered about this. And the parents are too. So between them all, they decided, well, one thing to do is to consult the Druid, who lived up on Bloma in a little bohon. And they said, if anyone knows what we can do about this, she will. So the parents and the three boys set off up that path along the River Barrow until they came to her bohon. And it was a little cottage surrounded by trees. They could see the smoke coming out of the chimney. And when they arrived at the door, and before they could even knock, the door opened. And there she was, and she said, what kept you? And they said, what? Oh, I've been waiting for you. I know what your boys have been up to. Now, she said, lads, you are going to tell me everything. And they said, please, we've lost our teeth. We want our teeth back in our mouths. What are we going to do? She said, first of all, you tell me the story. So they described what they had done, picking the berries on the way up the mountain along the path and jumping into the first waterfall and jumping into the second and jumping into the third. And then seeing this grove of hazel trees with the big fruits. And she said, you know what you did? I know you didn't mean it, but by jumping into those 3 waterfalls, I don't know how you did it, because not everybody can do it. You opened a Cólabhrac. You opened a doorway into the other world. Now the Daoine Sídhe are none too pleased with you. And that is why you're like this today. So what did you do when you went through the veil? And they told him, we went over and we stuffed our faces with the hazels, and then we carried some in our gansies and we went home. And she said, okay, did you ask any permission? And they looked sheepishly and they go, no, we didn't. Did you even say thank you? No, we didn't. We just didn't think they were so sweet. We couldn't resist taking those fruits. And then we finned our gansies, we had to get home. And she said, well, the Daoine Sídhe are not happy. And that is why they took your teeth out. But what can we do? Our lives are ruined. We are sorry. We're so, so sorry. And she said, okay, there's one thing you can do. What I want you to do is go back down the path, back to your houses, and pick up and gather all of the uneaten hazels and bring them back up to that grove. And you must apologize to Daoine Sídhe. And I tell you, you better grovel and you better be really sincere and you better promise never, ever to take any of their fruits again. And certainly never without permission. So they thanked the Druid and the parents thanked her, and they headed off running as fast as they could down to their respective homes, gathered all the leftover hazels, put them in their gansies, and began to walk back up as fast as they could to the grove of hazels. The Cólabhrac was still open, and in they went, over to the grove. And they said, we're really sorry, Daoine Sídhe, we are so, so sorry. We will never, ever, ever, ever do that again. Please forgive us. It's just they were so tasty, they were irresistible. We didn't know what to do. So we're replacing all the ones we haven't eaten. Now, of course, they couldn't see anything, but the Daoine Sídhe were there. They were watching everything. So they left everything down on the ground and then headed off as fast as they could. The Cólabhrac closed behind them and they ran down the hill back to their houses. Now, nothing happened for the rest of the day. And they wondered, would the Daoine Sídhe ever forgive them? But they went to bed that night. And they slept a peaceful sleep. Pleasant dreams, no bellyache, no headaches. And when they woke up, their teeth were back in their mouths. And they lived a good life after that, remembering the lesson they learned. Never, ever meddle and take things from the Daoine Sídhe unless you're invited to. Now, of course, that's not the end of the story. The Daoine Sídhe had a great meeting after the boys left the grove, and they thought, what can we do? We need to protect our fruit. These are sacred fruit. These are fruit of wisdom. There'll always be young boys, and somebody inadvertently may open a Cólabhrac and they might find our fruits and just eat them like that. So what they did was they agreed they would shrink the size of the hazel fruits, and they'd put a shell, a hard shell around them, so that to this day, if you look for wisdom, you don't get it without cracking a hard shell first. And that is the end of my story. And I hope you've enjoyed it. So now I'm going to lead you in a meditation, so that you too may seek the wisdom of the hazel. In Irish, we call it Agna Quill. Call is the Om name for the hazel. So Agna Quill, the wisdom of the hazel. So I just invite you to, I've pinned somebody's name up. Apologies for that. I didn't mean to do that. To invite you all now to enter the story with me. Come on a journey with me. So just get comfortable in front of your screens, your phone or your laptop or whatever it is. And just feel your feet firmly on the ground. Be aware of the ceiling above you and the walls around you. And if you like, close your eyes. And just connect with the floor beneath you, the ceiling above you, the walls around you. And bring your awareness to your breath. Breathing in and breathing out. Breathing in and breathing out. Remember, with every in-breath, there are possibilities, and with every out-breath, there's a letting go. Following your in-breath as it enters your body, following your out-breath as it leaves your body. Breathing in and breathing out. And now I'd like you to imagine that you're in Glen Barrow at the foot of Bloma. And I invite you to walk along that path beside the river. And you notice the sky above you, and the trees around you, and the water, the river beside you. Notice the colors. And as you walk up that path, just become aware of all the things you can hear. The sound of the flowing river. Maybe the sound of birds, the sound of the insects as they fly by you. The sound of the wind through the leaves and the trees. And notice any smells. Any tastes. Be aware of the texture of the earth beneath your feet as you walk along that path. And now you find you come to a waterfall. And there's a pool at the base of that waterfall. And I invite you to make an offering to this pool. Maybe a chant, a song, your breath, or something you have in your pocket. And I invite you to take a drink from that pool. You taste its sweetness, feel its coolness as you swallow. Feel its healing, its magic. And feel the energy that it gives you. And you say thanks. And you begin to continue your walk up that path, up on the slopes of Bloma. And you walk until you come to the second waterfall. And again, you make an offering at the pool at the base of the waterfall. And I invite you to taste some of that sweet water. Notice, does it taste any different to the other one, or is it the same? Just feel its energy fill every cell of your being. And then you give thanks. And you continue your walk up along the path until you come to the third waterfall. And again, you make an offering. And I invite you to take some of the water. And feel its essence, its magic, its qualities as that water enters your body. And you look to the left. And you noticed everything is different. It's like you can feel the air is vibrating around you. It's shimmering. And there you see it, the Cola Brack, the gateway into the other world. And you sense an invitation calling you. And you pass through the veil, and everything is completely different. The earth sings beneath your feet, it tingles. You can feel that. The colors are much more vivid. They're brighter. The sounds are clearer, sweeter to the ear. The smells, fragrant, beautiful, calming. And notice any tastes in the air. And you feel the welcome from Nadini Shi. And there you see the grove of hazels. You can see their catkins and you can see the fruit, and they are big, juicy fruit, as big as apples, as soft, as juicy as peaches. And you sense an invitation to go towards those trees. And you walk towards the trees, feeling the magic, the Druid, all around you, feeling the wonder. You place your right hand on the trunk of one of the trees. You hold out your left hand, and as you do, one of those fruits drops into your hand. This is for you, a gift of wisdom. And you're invited to take of the fruit. And you do. And it has the sweetest of tastes, like nothing you've ever tasted before. And just be aware of what you're experiencing at this time, taking in the Agna Quill, the wisdom of the hazel. It may come to you in words, a phrase, an answer to a question you've been dealing with, a teaching, some kernel of wisdom for you as you take that fruit. Allowing the Agna Quill to enter your body. Until you're filled with its magic, its wisdom. And now it's time to say thank you. Begin to leave the other world, the world of the Nadini She. You look at those trees around you and you give thanks, giving thanks for having received that Agna quill. Where the wisdom of the hazel in our world, in the ordinary world, they have a hard kernel and a hard shell. And seeking wisdom can often be tough. And yet when we pass through the veil and enter into the world of Nadini She, it's easier to achieve. The fruits of wisdom are often softer. But it's not always easy to pass through the veil. So you take one more look at those grove of hazels, say goodbye, and begin to walk back towards the Colabrak, the gateway, which is now into the ordinary world. And you pass through and you can feel it closing behind you and you're back in the ordinary world. But you're carrying that Agna with you, that wisdom, that teaching that you have received. And you begin to walk down the path, down along the Barrow, down the slopes of Bloma. You pass the third waterfall, the second, the first, right down to the bottom, into the valley. And you allow your awareness of the valley and Bloma to fade. But bringing with you what you received on the mountain. Bring your awareness of your physical body in front of your screen, feeling the floor beneath your feet, the ceiling above you, and the walls around you. Back fully present. Take a deep breath. When you're ready, open your eyes. So, I hope you enjoyed that story and the meditation. My apologies to Terry Beasley from Five. This is the second time I've clicked on someone's name and up it goes, and I don't know how I did it. I do know how I did it, but I don't know how I can avoid doing it. Anyway, it's been lovely to meet you this week. Next week, I won't be hosting, but I will be on the air to introduce you to another storyteller. Her name is Gail Nyoka, and she's a wonderful storyteller and from the US. So she'll be joining us for storytelling. So until then, slán go fóill, and see you next week. Bye-bye.